Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his connections, but few recognize when their connections begin to rot." The collapse of a man's social life is rarely an explosion. It is erosion, slow, silent, unnoticed. It does not begin with betrayal. It begins with a missed meeting, an unanswered call, a friendship postponed until it dissolves. Modern men chase success, but often abandon brotherhood. They trade soul for schedule, spirit for noise, and by the time the loneliness roars, the fortress has already sealed. The ancient Stoics warned, "It is not a sudden storm that destroys the ship, but small cracks left unrepaired day after day." In a world obsessed with busyness, the real killer is unseen, the silent death of brotherhood, purpose, and connection. Today, through the eyes of Stoicism, we expose the 5 silent killers of a man's social life and reveal how modern men can rebuild before it's too late. Most men won't realize it until the fortress they've built becomes their prison. No man drowns because he is thrown into deep waters. He drowns because he refuses to swim. Silent pride is the first wound a man inflicts upon himself. He convinces his mind that needing others is weakness, while his soul rots unseen. Modern men worship independence, but confuse it with isolation. They hide behind schedules, achievements, titles, until there is no one left who truly knows them. Every missed call, every rejected invitation, every friendship left to die was not someone else's betrayal. It was self-inflicted exile. Pride whispers, "Stay silent, stay strong." And so he stays, silent in his struggles, silent in his loneliness, silent as his life decays around him. Marcus Aurelius, master of an empire, still sought counsel. Seneca, surrounded by wealth, still built brotherhoods, because even emperors understood, man does not conquer life alone. He conquers it through bonds, forged in humility. Pride does not protect, it suffocates. It builds a coffin while making a man believe it's a fortress. A man who clings to pride clings to his own slow death. The Stoics taught, needing others is not disgrace, it is human. Pretending otherwise is the real weakness. To rebuild your life, pride must die first, or everything else will. A man doesn't lose his friends because he runs out of time. He loses them because he chooses to run from connection. The second silent killer wears a respectable face. It doesn't look like weakness, it looks like ambition. Modern men are addicted to being busy. They mistake movement for progress, noise for achievement, calendar blocks for meaning. They fill every hour, every minute, thinking if they just keep moving, they will outrun loneliness, self-doubt, emptiness. But busyness is not life. It is the illusion of life. A treadmill where you run faster, harder, and stay exactly where you are. Stoicism teaches, busyness is not a virtue. It is often an escape from the work that truly matters. The work of building character, the work of sustaining real brotherhood, the work of living with intention. A man who cannot sit still with himself will never stand strong with others. Seneca warned of this 2,000 years ago. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Every "I'm too busy" is a brick added to the wall of isolation. The addiction to busyness starves connection. It suffocates friendship. It leaves a man wealthy in appointments and bankrupt in meaning. True power comes not from moving faster, but from moving deliberately. A man who rebuilds his life must first reclaim his time. He must stop glorifying the noise and start listening to the silence that asks, "What exactly are you running from?" It is not the world that isolates a man. It is the prison he builds to protect himself from being hurt again. The third silent killer does not shout. It whispers, "Stay safe, stay hidden, stay silent." The fear of rejection has crippled more men than war, disease, or poverty combined. Not because the world is cruel, but because men, terrified of being seen as small, choose to disappear altogether. One rejection, one moment of being overlooked, one door closed, and they retreat, dragging their dignity behind them, mistaking silence for safety. But Stoicism teaches pain is not defeat, rejection is not death. It is the sharpening of character. It is the fire that forges real strength. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayals from friends. Seneca was exiled from Rome. Epictetus lived his life as a slave. None of them allowed rejection to define their worth. Modern men, however, collapse at the first sign of disapproval. A woman says no. A friend drifts away. A dream is denied. And suddenly they declare life itself as unworthy. Rejection is not the end. It is an invitation to rise again with less illusion and more fire. The man who rebuilds his life must walk into rejection, not run from it. He must understand. Being denied does not diminish his value. It only reveals who is incapable of recognizing it. A man afraid of rejection is a man half alive. A man who embraces it is a man who cannot be broken. The Stoics remind us, it is better to fail with dignity than to succeed by betraying who you are. Let rejection scar you, but never silence you. A man who worships comfort is a man who prepares his own grave and calls it a throne. The fourth silent killer is seductive. It does not attack. It lulls. It sings a soft song. Rest a little longer, hide a little deeper, expect a little less. Modern men are dying not from battle, but from softness, from choosing easy over necessary, comfort over growth, numbness over purpose. They avoid the uncomfortable conversations. They avoid the strenuous friendships. They avoid the meaningful struggles, and they rot in silent luxury. Stoicism teaches that the man who seeks pleasure above purpose will find neither. Marcus Aurelius wrote amidst war. Seneca wrote letters under threat of death. Epictetus forged philosophy under the whip of slavery. Not one of them prayed for comfort. They prayed for strength. Modern men, however, have been taught that comfort is success. A bigger couch, a quieter life, a longer scroll on a brighter screen. They are sold sedation, and they buy it gladly. But comfort is a liar. It promises peace and delivers decay. A man who cannot endure discomfort cannot endure greatness, because greatness demands sacrifice, demands hardship, demands standing where it hurts, when everything inside screams to sit down. The Stoics understood. Life is a battlefield, not a spa. Rebuilding your life means choosing purpose over pleasure, discipline over convenience, endurance over ease. The man who worships comfort dies slowly. The man who worships strength lives eternally. When a man forgets why he fights, he has already lost, even if he still holds a sword. The fifth silent killer is the most lethal because it strikes not at the body, but at the soul. It is not enough for a man to have friends, not enough to belong to groups, not enough to be surrounded by voices. If there is no shared purpose, no shared fire, no shared struggle, then brotherhood is already dead, rotting while men still laugh, still drink, still pretend. Modern men have been sold the idea that connection is about entertainment, that friendship is about distraction, That meaning can be replaced with convenience. But the Stoics knew, connection without purpose is emptiness multiplied. Marcus Aurelius fought alongside soldiers, not because it was easy, but because shared struggle forged unbreakable bonds. Seneca mentored others, not for fame, but to keep the flame of wisdom alive beyond his own life. Brotherhood is not a social event, it is a sacred duty, to stand with others not for comfort, but for the forging of character. A man without purpose in his connections is like a soldier without a cause, armed, armored, but already defeated. True brotherhood demands sacrifice, demands loyalty, demands building something together that outlasts individual desires. If a man loses purpose in his brotherhood, he does not just lose friends, he loses himself. The Stoic path calls him back. To find men who build, not men who escape. To find struggles worth bleeding for, not games worth passing time. Because in the end, a man's strength is not measured by how many stand around him, but by how many stand with him when the storms come. Rebuilding your life demands rebuilding your brotherhood, not with smiles, but with shared battles. Purpose must be the fire, or everything else will freeze to death. If these words struck a chord with you, it's because the fire still lives inside. Keep it burning, building fight, endure. If you seek a brotherhood that values strength over noise, purpose over comfort, this is your place. Like, subscribe, and leave a sign that you are one of us who chose to stand. Because the world needs more men who refuse to fall silently,